People's Democratic Party are currently seeking notable names to spearhead the upcoming presidential elections. Names have been thrown in the mix, including former President Goodluck Jonathan and the 2023 presidential candidate of the Labour Party, Peter Obi. However, reports have emerged that discussions are underway within the People's Democratic Party to present former President Goodluck Jonathan as his presidential candidate in 2027 general election. Since his defeat in 2015, Jonathan has largely distanced himself from active politics. Multiple reports indicate that alongside efforts to bring Jonathan back, the PDP is also in talks with former Kano State Governor and current Senator Rabi Musa Kwankwaso to have a possible run as Jonathan's vice presidential candidate. Joining us now to discuss Jonathan's candidacy and how it would change the color of the 2027 race is Professor Tukur Muhammad Baba, Publicity Secretary of the Arewa Consultative Forum. Great to have you, Prof. Prof, what's your read about the Jonathan Kwankwaso tickets at a point in time like this? And some people are saying the North will favor it. I'm like, if the North will favor it, hypothetically, I'm not saying the North will favor it because some people are saying the North will favor it, but if they favor it, what is it now that all of a sudden they see in Jonathan now that they didn't see in 2015?
Well, the most immediate is because whether we like it or not, the campaign has started. Two, whether we like it or not, politicians on all sides, I think, in my opinion, are desperate. Desperate for the right team, desperate to appeal to the voter, desperate for relevance, and so on. So it's not new. We have seen this kind of movements before in other elections, all kinds of permutations, all kinds of combinations. What is probably surprising is to say the North will support this or the South will support that and so on. These are all speculations. What we do know is that all the political actors or the major political actors are in this race and everyone wants to sell their point of view and so on. Whether or not this will pan out, I think it's speculative. When you say the North, when you say the South, we are not talking of the people. I think we are talking of the politicians and their desire to win elections and so on. But certainly it's interesting to see the extent all parties are going to pool support to bring whoever they think is a heavyweight, quote unquote. So these are interesting times, but we wait to see. I personally think it's a long way to 2027. But of course, desperation is pushing a lot of people into all kinds of combinations and choices.
Absolutely. I'm glad you reiterated the fact that we have a long way to go until 2027. But unfortunately, these are the conversations that are happening as politicians continue to strategize behind the scenes. Now, one major conversation that's happening is the issue of the one term, serving 4 years, of which Peter Obi has come out and made a vow with the people and made a promise that he would only serve one term. So some people are saying that, well, Goodluck Jonathan is preferable because he's only entitled to one term constitutionally. Do you think that this gives Goodluck Jonathan a competitive edge in terms of becoming more appealing to those in the North who feel that in 2031 the rotation must be respected and brought back to the North? So, sir, let me just make my sorry, sir, if I may just make my question clear. Why would Goodluck Jonathan be attractive to the North?
I don't know whether he is attractive or he is not. I think these are permutations and campaign being pushed by politicians. I don't know if Goodluck Jonathan will be attractive to anybody, except if he comes out and says exactly what they have for the country and will wait for the voters to see if that is true. But so far, I think most people are just speculating on whether which part of Nigeria will support which candidate or not. Well, Goodluck Jonathan, on the surface of it, is attractive. Why? Because over time, and especially since 2015, he has accumulated a number of positives. One, he gave up when he thought he lost the election, quietly, and he had been living a quiet life, enjoying international recognition, being sent on missions overseas, and so on. And of course, some of the baggage he carried on to 2015, or people thought he was clueless and so on. The development since 2015 seemed to favor him, and so on. So he looks attractive, but I think there is still a long way to go for him to sell himself. Let's not also forget that in the build-up to 2023, there were wide speculations that the APC was wooing Goodluck Jonathan to bring him into the fray, to stand for election as if he was, quote-unquote, forgiven by the same APC that vilified him. In the long run, it did not work out. In the long run, he did not come out openly to say, yeah, he was interested in the position and so on. But, you know, Goodluck Jonathan will be a candidate, but of course he needs to do a lot more to sell himself, to offer himself as an alternative, to show that he's now different from the Goodluck Jonathan we knew, whether as a person or circumstances have turned out that some of the criticisms against him were simply political and so on. Well, anybody could be a candidate, but I think given the circumstances right now in the country, the difficulties people are facing, the challenging economic conditions, it will take a lot more for a politician, whether they are from the south, the north, or from the moon, to convince themselves, to convince the electorate that they are different, or that they offer a new alternative.
But Prof,
Yes,
he stands in that unique situation that he's the only one who only has one constitutional term allowed to him, except, of course, for the incumbent who also has one term. Is this not something that gets people excited? Yeah. Because you know that no matter what, he has to go. Unlike Peter Obi, for example, who, you know, due to public demand at the time, may say, well, the people have said I should continue. Is this not a juicy and attractive offer?
Not to me. Let's get this clear. The one-term hubris that is being propounded is not a constitutional requirement. This is not the only time we have had some candidates saying they will go for only one term. Either they never got to do so, or in fact they change their mind. Let's not forget, the late President Buhari, in the build-up to the 2015 election, at some point has said he would go for one term. This did not happen. So the one-term issue is not a constitutional requirement, and you cannot hold anybody responsible for that. And again, to me, it's kind of crass. If, for example, a candidate wins, hypothetically, Peter Obi, and he does very well, and he appeals to the electorate, does it mean that when it's time for the second term, so to speak, he would not contest because he had promised something that is not constitutional? To me, the one-term idea is just a campaign issue being thrown about by politicians, and I think it's an act of desperation. But I think the electorate should be allowed to decide whether a candidate can go for a second term or not. And I think it will be robbing the nation the benefit of selecting a person that they think has served well and will do well and so on. So that leaves us should change. So let's get this clear. The one-time thing is just being thrown about because politicians think that is what the electorate in the north, in the south, or anywhere would like to hear. But I am personally very skeptical about it, and I look at it as just a campaign issue that, you know, well, nobody can listen. Even Tukur Abubakar at some point, I think leading up to 2015, had promised he would work for one term and then help other regions of the country to do. Let's face this thing. These are just manipulations of opinions, manipulations of sentiments by politicians, and they're whipping up to sway the electorate to their side. To me, I don't give it any serious consideration. This is just a campaign gimmick.
I mean, it would be interesting to find out how far your skepticism stretches. I say that because, you know, in the weeks before this and in the days before this, we have heard from former members of the ACF, specifically Chief Anthony Sanu, who says that the North doesn't trust Peter Obi, and that he also has cast doubt and aspersions over Peter Obi's promise that he'll only stay for just the one term. So I would like to ask you, of course, Chief Anthony Sanu is no longer the Secretary General of the ACF, but how do you agree with his sentiments? Does the ACF agree that the North doesn't trust Peter Obi, wouldn't back a Tukur Obi ticket? What is your position? I know you said you're skeptical, but how far does your skepticism stretch?
The ACF is a socio-cultural organization. It is political but non-partisan. One of the key principles of the ACF is not to openly back one party or the other, one candidate or the other. The ACF does its analysis based on what it thinks are the socio-economic issues. It has never taken and will not take sides on or against any candidate. Chief Elder Anthony Sani, a person I respect very much, was expressing a personal opinion. As much as possible, I think we should leave the ACF out of it. In the build-up to the 2023 election, the ACF extended invitation to all key political actors vying for the presidency to come and sell themselves. But it never sided with any. Let's get that clear. To expect the ACF to come out for and against any candidate, to me, it's neither here nor there. The ACF will not. The ACF has not assessed Peter Obi as a body and will not do that. So let's get this out of the way. Now, Peter Obi is a candidate like every other person, and I think he stands a good chance depending on how he sells himself. But to say that one part of the country or another will support him or does not support him, I think is speculation. And it's a personal opinion. Elder Sani, myself here, cannot speak for the ACF or for the North. The North is a highly complex geopolitical and social entity. There is no one part of the North, either singly or collectively, will say they support or do not support this and that candidate. A lot will depend on circumstances. A lot will depend on the appeal that the candidate has. But to no one, and I think it will be a great disservice for anyone to say they are speaking for the North, because the North is not one political entity. It's a highly complex geopolitical entity with over 200 ethnic groups, all sorts of religious persuasions. And I think anybody who says they speak for the North directly, this is definitely what the North will do or will not do. I think it's just expressing a personal opinion.
Okay, Prof.
Don't be too sold on this idea.
Prof. Okay, good to have you. So in terms of one term, everybody, most people say they will do one term. In fact, one of the things that puts Goodluck Jonathan with the North, that puts Goodluck Jonathan in problems with the North, was because in 2011, he said he was going to do one term. In fact, he went ahead to say that he was going to tell the lawmakers to push forward a bill for single-term presidency. But when it was in 2015, the dynamics changed, and it was said that the North punished him. Do you think that the North, for all everybody thinks they're going to do one term, do you think the North has a mechanism of punishing people that renege on their words? In fact, I think it was Chief Olusegun Obasanjo in the Bloomberg interview that further stated the fact that President Jonathan had told him that he was going to do one term. And I would like to ask you this second question, Prof. It's a technical question. Politically, culturally, yes, the North is an aggregation of many diverse groups and interests, tribe and religion. But politically, is the North a monolith?
No, it is not. In fact, I think the North is one of the most politically diverse entities of the country. Let's go back to immediate post-independent period. The North had many parties. The NPC, Northern People's Congress, was, of course, the dominant party. But there was NEPU. There was the Tukur-led Middle Belt Congress. Okay? And so many, if you check the Northern Assembly in the post-independent period, the North had so many other interests that were also represented. They may be minorities. Fast forward to 1979. Again, the North showed itself to be diverse. While we had the GNPP, we had the PRP, we had the National Party of Nigeria. You know, they were all represented at the state and national levels by diverse political interests. Now, fast forward to 2023. Again, this is what we have. That the North has, represented its political office holders from diverse backgrounds and diverse political persuasions. I think we make too much of the so-called cultural affinity that push Northerners to one side or another. But I personally think, going through history as I did, the North has been one of the most politically diverse, ideologically diverse entity in the country. And for anyone to claim they speak for the whole North, and I think they are just deceiving themselves. And no one should make any mistake about it. People, so long as it's a democratic atmosphere, the North will continue to show diversity. Of course, it is tempting to look at the major or the overriding political group, but no, the North is more highly diverse than we give credit to it for.
Okay. So I'd like to look at another dimension of this conversation. Recently, what has been dominating the headlines is the fact that the North is feeling neglected by President Tinubu's administration. I'd like for you to just cast your memory into a little bit of recent history, contemporary history. Was the North feeling neglected under President Goodluck Jonathan's administration?
No, not necessarily. I mean, in a political atmosphere like we have, everyone would like to have the most for themselves. The North had challenges, and they felt, well, I wouldn't say the North, a lot of people felt neglected. A lot of people felt Goodluck Jonathan was not doing well, but I think that was not exactly what pushed him out. What pushed him out, in my opinion, were promises by the APC. 1, anti-security. 2, anti-corruption. 3, development. None of this panned out. Okay, and it turned out that what we thought was the answer was far from being the answer. Fast forward 2023, the human being is a very hopeful and optimistic being. So every time we elect people, support them, but I think it's not because they are North or they are South, it's because of what is on ground. For example, what will decide, in my opinion, the 2027 election is ability to respond to the people's need. Economic challenges, insecurity, infrastructure, and so on. But again, I insist that, yeah, there may be ideas about one part of the country being predominantly pro or against any candidate, but I think that is an overreach. If you cast your mind back again to 2023, nobody gave Peter Obi a chance of becoming the third, but he did, and he made inroads into what you call the North. But of course, that was not enough. None of the candidates, in fact, can be said to have garnered the North wholesale as if it was something from their pockets and so on. I mean, and I think it's good that our politics should interrogate more than geographic destinations. But again, let me again want to say the North, the South is actually confusing the issue. No one but the electorate should be allowed to determine whether or not a candidate gets into the office, North or South. When you talk of difficulties, I mean, right now, every part of the country is hurting, some more than others. Of course, the North has come to this stage with a lot of baggage. You know, the socio-economic indices of development, human development, and so on, the North had lagged behind education, health, infrastructure, and so on. So the problems are easily generalized to be Northern, but let's be clear about it. Every part of the country is suffering. Let me take you back again to a few months ago, the 4 tax bill that were before the National Assembly. Everyone was shouting, is the North that is disadvantaged? It's not. A careful analysis will show that every part of the country, North, South, Southwest, Southeast, South-South, Northeast, and so on, they all needed to speak on one voice on the direction of the tax bills because they affect everybody. Again, to say it was a Northern opposition is a gross exaggeration. To say that only the North will suffer, again, is a gross exaggeration, as in fact, it turned out the inputs into the National Assembly on the bill changed so many things. So the idea that it's only the North that is on the ground and crying, I think it's not true. It's a manipulation by political interest groups.
Okay, sir. Well, so in the same breath, do you think Nigeria fared better under Goodluck Jonathan than it is currently faring under President Tinubu? Just a general comparison.
A general comparison, I will tell you the circumstances are different. There is a lot of suffering under this government, the present administration. Of course, in terms of Jonathan's time, there was one major problem, that was insecurity. He did not have fuel subsidy. He left the Naira alone. There was subsidy in electricity. All of this that have been removed have put the country now in a desperate situation. And I think it's easy to say that people are suffering now more than they did, but we need to put it in context. A lot of things have happened that probably should not have happened, probably should have been more thought out. The removal of the fuel subsidy, removal of subsidy from electricity, the floating of the Naira, all of these have amplified our problems. Then, of course, you cannot run away from it. The loop-sided appointments into quote-unquote lucrative position by this government, the allocation of resources in favor of one region of the country or another. So you need to put all this into context, but certainly the suffering that people are facing today, and from north to south, from Sokoto to Akwa Ibom, from Lagos to Borno, affects everyone, some more than the other. So again, it's a question of perhaps the beauty is in the eye of the beholder, but certainly the challenges now have been unprecedented. And of course, any evaluation will be affected by the current situation. Sure. People think of now and then compare it to the past. And there is also nostalgia. You can go back further and say that, in fact, a lot of statistics... Mm-hmm.
Well, thank you, Professor. I just wanted to say...
So that you can say a lot of statistics...
Yes, if I could just come in there, because thank you very much. I mean, you've spoken at length about how you feel as though the North is not a monolith and, essentially just not one single identity, not one people, and that it is quite diverse. Indeed, the entire country is diverse. But then just then, a few moments ago, you did touch on perhaps there being some form of a North-South divide, despite the fact that everyone is suffering. And that kind of brings up recent memory of Rabiu Kwankwaso saying that this current administration is favoring the South when it comes to development and abandoning the North. We've already accepted that the North is not a monolith, but just tacking on for what you said a few moments ago, do you believe that there is some merit in Kwankwaso's comments there? Do you agree with him that the North has been abandoned in some extent by some metrics by the government of today? I
will not say abandoned. I will say there is definitely disparity in allocation of resources, in allocation of priorities. Rabiu Musa Konkoso is a politician, and we should never forget that. But certainly, the ACF in 2024 confronted the president and gave him a list of what we think the priorities of the North are: infrastructure, education, economic empowerment, and so on. And you can always say that the current administration is not doing enough. There is a lot more to be done. So what I will say is Rabiu Musa Konkoso expressed his opinion. He was entitled to it. And of course, I will express my opinion. And I think all over, there are so many things that could have been done, that could have been done by the government, by the present administration to improve the conditions of North. I think a lot more should be done in education. But of course, again, I will say that the education, it's every level of government has something to do. Is the North happy? A lot of people are not. But like I said, you know, a lot more can be done.
Okay, Prof. I deliberately asked you the question, is the North a monolith? And I deliberately asked you, and I got the answer I wanted. But I would like to prove to you that it is a monolith politically. Let's go back historically. In the days of Nepus of this world and MPC, no matter how Aminu Kano held sway, MPC got the larger seats. There was always a dominant party. In the last election, yes, there was a free-for-all. Peter Obi got about 2 million votes out of the North. Atiku Abubakar got about 3 million votes. The APC still came out on top. Politically, it's still a monolith because a lot of the Muslim North votes thrives over the minority Christian North votes. And it is with that the North bargains whatever it gets politically. So it is a monolith politically, despite the fact that I want to say, oh, it is free across board, and that's what comes to the table. So to further make my argument, when you said that the APC brought about a lot of promises in 2015 and they voted out Jonathan, by 2019, is it that the North didn't see that Buhari was not performing and they still voted en masse again? Because there's a clear question of what has this government not done for the North? This government claims over 50% of the allocation was given to the North. Somebody from the South like me should feel disgruntled about that, because we should feel there should be equity. But when you look at the disposition, yes, in terms of land mass, the North is bigger. So I wouldn't take that to heart. My question is, what is it that ought to be done that has not been done? And what will be done to please the North?
Again, Mr. Rufai, I hesitate to speak for the North. I hesitate to generalize on the North. You can't force me to do that, because for me, the evidence is not as straightforward as you think. When the government speaks of 52% allocation to the North, I laugh, because it reminded me of my undergraduate days over 50 years ago, when a very good book, How to Lie with Statistics. If it's 50%, let's see it on ground. If it's 50% of a point, let's see it. You know, you can lie with statistics. You can claim everything. You know, there is a difference between actual implementation and statement of intentions. You can do allocations in the budget, but you never implement. You can actually allocate 80%, and if it is not implemented, to what effect? If there is no cash benefit, to what effect? Look at allocations to agriculture. The agricultural production is the backbone of the economy of the North. How much have we devoted to agriculture? Look at allocations, for example. Let me give you the recent allocation of funds to universities for... Yeah? Okay, let me finish this. You know, out of seven universities that were selected for intervention, 4 are in the southwest. I mean, you can talk about it, you can lie with the statistics. what is the effect? To what extent has this been backed by concrete policy funds allocation and actual implementation?
No, but the government said they are doing roads.
Yeah.
The government said they are doing roads. They've purchased 3,000 tractors. Niger is benefiting for it. Niger is having the highest production numbers in terms of some crop. Yeah. That's what this government is saying.
Mr. Rufai, Niger State procured tractors, but that was done, in my opinion, by the state government as it should. You are telling me what the government is claiming. I'm saying we are not seeing it on the road, on the ground. Go to the northeast, see the state of roads. I cannot think of any part of the northeast, for example, that you will have about 250 kilometers of uninterrupted, smooth ride. You can say so for any part of the country. That's what I'm emphasizing, Mr. Rufai, that let's speak of the country as a whole. When you build a road from Maiduguri to Enugu, it's not only the northeast or north central or southeast alone that benefit. All part of the country will benefit from that road. So you have to look at it from the broad national context. And this idea that the North is grumbled, the North is crying, the North is screaming, and so on, I think we are overdoing it. And it adds to the divisive nature of our politics. These are all manipulation by politicians. Whether the government claims it's 52%, I don't see it on ground. The North is still should change. But so is the South. Roads in the Southeast, and so on. You look at it that way. Let's move away from this idea of the North is a crybaby entity in the country. It is not.
Fantastically put. Professor Mohammed Baba, I think we frequently said on this platform that identity should not become transactional, just as geography within Nigeria should not become transactional either. Thank you so much for your time today. We appreciate your contribution.